another massive episode of the Benchwarmers. I'm Brad and I am joined by a very special guest in producer Jacob Schmidtke, usually behind the camera. You've joined us in front of the camera, haven't you, Jacob? Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Brad. It's a pleasure to be here. It feels a bit different, actually.
It's good, isn't it? The lights are bright on this side of the camera, but of course we did have a late out this week with young Matt. He's had other engagements. He's a busy boy running the country just about, but the show goes on, doesn't it? We've had a massive shake-up of the ladder in the Barossa, as we will obviously touch on at some point, but it's all happening in the world of sport. The Aussies, they're tearing it up at the Olympics. They're currently tied first on the medal tally for gold medals.
They're doing amazing.
They're flying, aren't they? And the SA country boys, footy, few of the BLG lads, they took on WA on the weekend, and you got some good news for us.
Yeah, so obviously the country boys play WA once every year, and the SA boys are lucky enough to come out on top yesterday, kicking 13 goals, 16.94, defeating WA 7 goals, 9.51. Our very own Steve Burden from South Gawler got second best for South Australia, so well done to Birdo. Watches every episode as well, so he's a loyal follower. And obviously Jack Carpenter as well got third best as well from Barossa District. Yeah,
they're some superstars of the comp, and they obviously get a mention just about each and every week on this show. So we've got a good eye for talent. Jacob, it's fantastic to have someone come on that's done a bit of research and is nice and prepared for the show. So this will be refreshing, and I'm looking forward to it. So thanks to the Exchange and all of our sponsors, and we'll be back after a quick break.
Yes, like we said, thanks to all of our sponsors, and now we've got another massive instalment of the Feel Good Fill Up thanks to Rejuvenate Sports and Retail Therapy. Surely we're heading over to Paris, Brad. Where are we going this week?
We are, Jacob. You've done your research, and I'm glad you've joined me on this side of the camera because this is a special one this week. We're obviously over in Paris, as you said, for the Olympics. Australia, we're top of the leaderboard for gold medals, or equal top. We'll claim the top. We've obviously had Grace Brown in the cycling, Ariane Titmus in the 400 free. This is as we go to air, mind you. We are packing them on by the time we get this to air. The 4x100 girls freestyle team, and of course Jess Fox, who could forget that one. We've got 4 golds. We're absolutely flying. But for me, Jacob, you've watched enough of these episodes from behind the camera. You know I don't always go for the gold medals and that. It's the little stories behind everything. And the one that stood out for me was Chloe Cavell, the 14-year-old Australian skateboarder. She's an absolute superstar. She made the final and ended up actually finishing 8th. She was naturally disappointed with that. She's won a number of world tournaments in her time, in her young 14 years, mind you. And she was a gold medal chance for this one. She obviously didn't quite get there. But skateboarding, it's one of those sports where, it's one of those weird sports where you can almost make your run as difficult or as easy as you like, a bit like diving, all the rest of it. You can go for it or go for gold, as they say. And she couldn't quite land the tricks she wanted, but she kept having a crack, and that's what stood out to me. And her dad said in an interview after that no one remembers who come fourth, and how true is that? So she said, stuff it, I'm going for gold. She didn't make it, but she's already planning on coming back bigger and stronger. And in the post-match interview, or the post-run interview, she asked how she would celebrate. Being 14 and professional, she said she was going to tuck in to a heap of lollies, Jacob. So, well done. Professionally answered there. I'm assuming she's going to just really enjoy a few Allen's party mixes. But that's a fantastic effort. I watched that. She took it on. She took it by the horns, and she couldn't land it, but she's got a bright future, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think that's what the Feel Good Fill Up's all about. It's recognising, obviously, she's still up and coming, and she's going to be really great in the coming Olympics. Hopefully we get to see her in Australia in 30-32 at Brisbane.
Massive.
That'd be pretty big.
Massive, Jake. That would be massive. Especially, they are a young mob, the skateboarders. She's only 14. All of her competitors are about the same age. So we'll see how she goes over in LA in 4 years, maybe Australia in 8 years, that'll be. So I can't wait for the next couple of weeks, Jacob. I love getting around me Aussies. Lots of late nights and early mornings, so the bags under the eyes might get a bit bigger over the next few weeks, but I can't wait to get stuck in, and we'll be back next week for another massive instalment of the Feel Good Fill Up. Yes, thanks to our sponsors, and we are back to review another massive round of the BLG, and the ladder is shaking up each and every week, Jacob. Round 14, it is getting to the pointy end of the season. First game of the round, South Gawler 5-8-38, defeated by Anguston 15-9-99. A massive win there by Anguston. Best on ground for South was Henry Bennison. He's a star. Dean Cutting, 2 goals. We will touch on that. That's a name we haven't seen this year. For Anguston, it was Corcoran best on ground and Durden 5 goals. Jacob, give it to me. What do you make of that for the Lions? Because that's they'll need to be doing a bit of work this week.
They will. I'm sure Chappie will have them running a couple of laps tomorrow night, on Tuesday night. Obviously, they were in the game. They were only about 20 points down, going to 3-quarter time. And then Anguston just kicking a lazy 8-0 in the last quarter and kicking away.
Massive.
Obviously, like you said, you mentioned Dean Cutting, first game for the year. So hopefully he's fit and firing and potentially can play out the rest of the year. That'd be a big positive for South. Plus, obviously, as we also mentioned, Steve Burden playing the state game, big out for South, but he'll come back against Williston next week and he'll be ready to dominate. Yeah,
Birdo, he's a star. I'm sure he's worth a couple goals for South. I love my Lions. They've obviously got a little bit more work to do than just getting Steve Burton back in, but I know it is in them, Jacob, and it is in South. They do currently sit 5th though, so their backs up against the wall. Anguston are 4th. They're both on 9 wins. So as we said, it's getting tight at the top, and South are potentially running out of time, but they've obviously got time to turn it around. So I'm looking forward to watching the next few weeks. Next game of the round, Kapunda 7-5-47, defeated by Williston 22-9-141. For Kapunda, it was Taylor best on ground, Menzel 3 goals. And for Williston, Davis best on ground and Waldhooter 5 goals. Jacob, what do you make of that? We thought that might be the case, and it was good to see Williston stick at it. What do you make of it?
Williston just too strong. They've got a bunch of young talent coming through. They've actually produced a lot of their under-17s coming through to ranks now, pushing in their B grade. They're on top of the ladder. And then obviously the A grade, they're really strong for a finals position as well. It's all thanks to boys like Heath Growden, was 3rd best on the weekend, and is also leading the Rookie Player of the Year for the competition. And yeah, obviously amazing first years, put in the hard work in the pre-season. I did a bit of training with him in the pre-season, and he's come to play this year and just absolutely dominating. So it's great to see. And yeah, obviously they've still got heaps of young talent with like Asher Passon, Thomas Downey, Isaac Downey, Dylan Jones, Jay Warrior. Yeah, there's so many to list, and they'll just keep going, and they'll be around the mark for the next couple of years.
Massive, and this is fantastic. Like I said off the top, a guy that comes on the show with his own notes and a bit of research, that is absolutely refreshing. It's a good crop they're dealing with there, Jacob. And as we said, a 7-goal last quarter for Williston. That was probably the challenge for them. That percentage is obviously going to be super important with how tight it is up the top. That does put them into 2nd spot on 10 wins, with percentage obviously extremely important. So for them to stick at it all day. And what do you make of Williston, Jacob? Because it's getting tight. Could they be the real deal?
We'll have to see this next round, I reckon, will be the teller for that story. But they're definitely around the mark. I don't think they're the current best team, but they're right around there and might be able to knock a couple of people over in finals potentially.
Give it a good shake. Professionally answered, Jacob. Well done. 3rd game of the round, Nurioppa 8-13-61, defeated Barossa comfortably 2-8-20 for Newry. It was Scott Bentley best on ground, James Bentley and Jackson Baldwin 2 goals as well. For Barossa, it was Mazzone best on ground and the only 2 goals of the day. So probably rightfully, he was probably out of the midfield and kicking the only 2 goals of the day. Sounds like he was a lone contributor. What did you make of that one, Jacob?
I think the result does justice where they both are on the ladder. I think Newry obviously still pushing for that final spot. Obviously, see what happens the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Barossa probably just a lack of talent at the moment. But they'll get there next year potentially with a new oval and whatnot, new facilities. People want to come back and play for them. So they'll be looking towards next year. But obviously, still trying to show good fight for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. They are an exciting crop, and they're a good bunch of blokes down there. They've got good top-end talent. I do wonder if they're going to be trying to just add to that and add to their depth. They are a good side. They've been building for a few years, but they've obviously taken a little bit of a backward step this year. But for Newry, again, we talked about percentage, Jacob. It's massive this year. It's super tight. 6-8 to 1-1 at halftime. They definitely come out to play, that's for sure. So they knew this was an important one. And one that stood out to me, Jackson Baldwin, 2nd game of the year. I noticed him in the goal kickers, sitting up there, did my little bit of research because I hadn't seen his name for a little while. Missed a lot of footy with a knee injury and been away. So 2 goals, just sneaking back in there. He's a superstar and shouldn't be underrated, and he's peaking at the right time of year.
Yeah, just watch out for him. He might be the next superstar, just come from nowhere.
He will. Might be my next love child, like Shea Linky of Tanunda. Last game of the round, Jacob. Speaking of Shea Linky, he was away this week as well. So Gawler Central 7-6-48, defeated by Tanunda 19-14, 128. Big win there for Tanunda. For Gawler Central, flying the flag was Tyson Duffield, best on ground. Dean Saunders, 2 goals, the young lad up from the 17s. He just keeps featuring, doesn't he? For Tanunda, Snowden, best on ground and 6 goals, and he is a experienced head, that's for sure, Snowden, and he just keeps on keeping on.
I did forget to mention Shea Linky also playing a state game yesterday, so that's why he was absent for Tanunda. Yep. But just their talent showed that they don't really need him on the weekend, just getting the getting the job done over Centrals. That's
right, mate. You're getting the hiccups there, but you've done bloody well for the first 15 minutes. But I get a bit nervous when we talk about Shea Linky as well. He's a star. I sometimes can't find words to describe him either. But yeah, no wonder he's off on to bigger and better things. But he'll be back for the last few rounds of the year. For Tanunda, that currently leaves them in top spot. I keep banging on about percentage. They're 2% ahead of Williston. So a big win over Gawler Central there by 80 points. Super important. Calhoun, 4 goals. He was keen to pack them on, obviously. Tanunda, they got a fit list. You see all their big names. They float in and out as they do. We are obviously got a few fly-in, fly-out players, as we've touched on. But they all seem to come back for the important games, and they're all sitting there. Tanunda, I do wonder, can they go all the way? They've obviously, I don't mean to point out the obvious, they're sitting on top. What do you reckon?
I think they're the team to beat. They've got the home ground advantage of the grand final being at Tanunda this year. I think that'll be a massive booster for them trying to get over the line, get to the grand final. But yeah, I think their talent is just the best on paper at the moment. It's just if they can put it all on the park together at the same time.
That's a massive insight. I'm a week-by-week proposition man, looking at the numbers that have happened. You're already looking forward to where the grand final is being played. So that's a big insight, and not something Chuka could probably bring to the show. I think he'd do well to bring that on grand final week. So that is actually massive, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Tanunda. So they're sitting in the hot seat. That's for sure. Now, Jacob, that was fantastic. I can't wait to digest and preview the next round. We'll be back in a sec after a quick break. Yes, thanks to our sponsors, and we are back to preview another massive round of the Barossa, Light and Gawler. We're going into round 15, Jacob, as we said, the pointy end of the season. This is where it gets serious. It has, hasn't it? It has. You're dead right. You bring in lots of good points to the show, that's for sure. So, the ladder, I like to touch on this because this has been a storyline in itself, this one. You can make a TV show about this ladder. On top, we've got Tanunda and Williston tied. Obviously, Tanunda just ahead on percentage on 10 wins. They've got the top 2 covered. Then next, we have Newry, Angaston and South on 9 wins in that order for percentage. So South, the flag favourites the last few years and been the dominant team along with Newry. They've just slipped out of the 4, first time in a long time, and doing it tough but ready to turn it around. What do you make of that ladder? Because no one could have predicted that, a week ago or 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, so obviously South's already had their bye, and so has Tanunda. So Tanunda already been on top. Williston's still got their bye. I think Tanunda are in a great place to finish first and lock in that first final. And then obviously South got the game on Newry and Angaston as well. So yeah, you can't really tip it at the moment. You just flip of a coin, really.
It's tough. If it wasn't a cardless, if it wasn't all card these days in a cashless society, I probably would have had a coin in my pocket ready to bloody flip it. But let's give it our best go anyway, because our first game of the round, we've got Tanunda taking on Newry. Jacob.
One of the games of the year, I reckon. You can't get any bigger than this. Both these towns hate each other, big rivalry between them. So my tip, just probably on form, I'm just going Tanunda, home team as well. I think they'll just get the Chockies just over the line. Yeah, I like it. I tend to agree. I'm a numbers man. They're sitting on top, doing it easy. Got lots of stars and probably Shea Linky back, but who knows? I'm Tanunda for this one, but Newry have a lot to play for, obviously. Second game of the round, Barossa take on Kapunda. This one down at Williamstown. Hopefully that's in good nick. Yes, hopefully it's not a bog hole, but I'm sure it will be okay. I'm actually tipping an upset this one. I think Kapunda are going to get over the line. I think they're just going to try their hardest and just leave nothing out on the park, and they probably thinking to themselves that they probably can get over the line against Barossa. It's a gettable game for them, so I think they might cause an upset this round.
I like it, mate. Their first game, their first win of the year, your first show of the year. I like it. You've come in and swung it round. So well done. I think they are right for the picking. Barossa, they're obviously in some very scratchy form. You know I'm pretty boring with my tips and I'm a numbers man, so I've got to go Barossa for me at this stage, but I like it and I can't wait to digest it next week, and hopefully Kapunda do get it done for you. Third game of the round, Williston take on South. How big is this? Second takes on fifth. This could be massive for the ladder.
What a rivalry as well.
Yeah.
Like, just generally doesn't get any bigger than this in the Barossa League. For me, I can't, obviously, South Gawler boy at heart, I can't really tip past the Lions. So for me, I'm going South. I think they'll find a bit of form throughout the week on the track, and they'll come out strong against Williston. And yeah, they'll get the chockies.
Yeah, you've very smartly answered there, Jacob, but training wouldn't have been much fun for you if you tipped against South. No longer playing footy myself, I can tip exactly how I want these days. Statistics will show South don't often lose 2 in a row. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to get Burton back. Obviously, that's going to be another
Clements
massive
potentially.
Tommy Clements, Steve Burton, they're a couple of stars. Statistics, I'm going to go with that, and I think South will get the job done because it's a very important game and massive game of the year, and like obviously a lot to play for. Currently sitting fifth. I think they'll get it done by about 3 goals over Williston.
There you go.
It'll be a fiery contest, that's for sure. Last game of the round, Angaston take on Freeling.
Yeah, I think this will actually be a tighter game than most people expect. But I think Angaston quality is just too good. Obviously, they proved that over South on the weekend. And yeah, their lineup's just too strong, so I'm tipping Angaston by 2 goals.
I agree, mate. I think Freeling will definitely make Angaston work for it. For me, Angaston just a lot more to play for, and they will be putting absolutely everything into this one, as they do each and every week. But yeah, for me, I think Angaston will get done by about 6 goals or so. But Freeling will make him work for it early. Now, Jacob, we're going into the last few weeks of the season. Based off my tips there, I've done a bit of a number crunch because you know I love my numbers. My predicted ladder, if all my tips get up, which often they do, don't they? You obviously crunch them behind the scenes. That'll leave Tanunda a game clear on top. That'll be the first time we've had a clear top side for a while. Then Williston, so it was Tanunda on 11 wins. That'll leave Williston on 10 wins, along with Angaston and South, both on 10 in that order. But yep. I'm predicting the percentage as well, which could actually knock Newry a game clear out of the 4 if they obviously go down to Tanunda as I've tipped. So this is massive, and not long ago Angaston, they were sitting 5th and we were saying maybe it's going to be all too hard for them, they had too much quality above. All of a sudden they get up on the weekend, they could be equal second and looking at a second chance.
Crazy. This competition is just unbelievable this year. Like any game can literally be anyone's, you just never know.
It's beautiful to watch and it's beautiful to digest each and every week. Now Jacob, thanks for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Chook, he's a busy man. He's running the country, as we said at the minute, taking over from the Prime Minister. But I think he might have to come back through the twos, Jacob. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, he'll be behind the camera next week.
Yeah, where he does his best work. So thanks, Chookie, for letting Jacob come on, and thanks, mate, for joining me. As we should. We should thank our sponsors and everyone for tuning in and making this show go to air each and every week. We'll be back next week to look at another massive round of the Barossa Light and Gawler.